Today, you'll be seeing how a realistic sea otter habitat is made from scratch. Like actually, every single step, from first planning to water filling. But it wasn't as straightforward as I was hoping, so I needed to do things a little bit differently. Then I tried to do an undo-redo technique, but I wasn't really happy with it, so I did something new. But more about this later. Let's start actually with phase number 1. And phase number 1 obviously is not too surprising, the preparation works of the foundation. So we skip a little bit ahead because you've seen already with the time lapses, and also, by the way, in a couple of seconds I'm going to talk about the technique that I used to make the stop motion, and we are going to look at the full stop motion towards the end of the video. So make sure to stick with me throughout the entire video. We have bits and parts in which we have the time lapse and some explanation. But yeah, so the first part of the video is making sure that the foundation sits right. So therefore I downloaded some really cool assets from the workshop. This time around I thought, making them all myself would take like an eternity. So I took them from the workshop. I'm going to link the Steam pages of the wonderful creators down there, so you can check these wonderful backstage elements out. I changed a couple of those things, and you can see along the time lapse you will also find me placing all these vehicles and stuff in other directions, which was necessary for the time lapse. So the whole build was a complete planned thing. So it has been almost 50-hour project in total. So there goes a lot of planning, researching what kind of habitat I wanted to build, loads and loads of small little things I needed to plan, searching for the different things on Steam. I live streamed the first part of it, which was already kind of digging into how I want to do this. I borrowed also some of the pieces I already used for the wonderful sea lion habitat we did in the past, which already was one of the fan favorites, and this is why I tried to take this to another level. And yeah, you can see me putting down a couple of these foundations, and this time around not only putting all the pieces down. This time around it's really all about making sure this is step by step and every bit is looked at, and sometimes here and there I took a little shortcut, but you can see I even went this far in that I made sure it looks like that the concrete is poured in a little before I then started putting everything in. So yeah, there was like this little step in between, was only made solely for the 0.25 seconds time-lapse frame. That is insanity, but I just love it, okay? So I made this entire thing purely to have half a second in a time-lapse. That is ridiculous, but it has been so much fun, and also kind of makes you aware of how much work goes into it and which step is taken after each other. So for example, what I could have also done is like putting these pieces in like concrete gray and then also do the painting. I was thinking about making the painting later, like having like actually a vehicle or people go in and paint, but then I figured it would actually be people that go in and paint this, and so I didn't have the people, and I was like, yeah, that looks kind of weird if I put like some staff members in. Like it could have gone, I could have taken the mechanic and put some fake like color bins and kind of these things in, but at the end of the day I'm very happy with how it turned out. And the next part is also bringing in the 4 rock again. Now, obviously, if you play the game, you know that these rocks are not 4 rocks, but as in a habitat like that, a real zoo wouldn't have too many real stones in here or real rocks. Now, also, by the way, if you find my voice a little bit nosy, this is because of pollen allergy striking again, but let's not talk too much about it. Yeah, this very step over here is meant to be making a blueprint for our 4 rocks. Now, in real, these are most likely done by out of fiberglass kind of material, which is super light, and then from the outside made look like proper stone and rocks like this. And I wanted to go and mix up a little bit of a region that the sea otters live in, which is a little bit to the northern part of Japan. And I had some people in my Discord channel where I do share eventually some, work in progress screenshots and stuff like that. So if you want to become part of my Discord, link is in the description, just as a little info here. And also if you are a member of YouTube, or like a YouTube member actually, or a paid sub on Twitch, you have even more early access to a special thread in which I put very early screenshots too. And in there people were also saying like, wait a sec, what is this region? Isn't that like Alaska, Canada? Or well, I opted for the northern part of Japan, which is a region where they barely live anymore. They have been living in the past, but due to overfishing and stuff like that you can imagine in this region. They're not living there. But I just found this a lot more inspiring and interesting, and this is why I went to like Google Images and tried to come up with like rock facades and rock formations that look like in this region. And also the building for them, the shelter, will have some inspiration by that, but more about this later. As we transition now into phase number 2, we have a little bit of a time lapse of our construction process that just has been done. As you can see, there is a lot of stuff going on. By the way, if you if you want to catch all the details, you may want to stop it and have a closer look, because there are a lot of details and Easter eggs hidden in there. But yeah, we continue pouring down the foundation. As you can see from step 1, now a lot of stones and stuff have been delivered, and I even put in some decals, because I imagined, you know, after a while there would have been some dirt and sand and stuff like that, because all of the vehicles driving around. In this part you can even see there are some lights in here, some industrial lights with the generator even to it, because I imagined, you know what, that would have been realistic, because they would potentially, because of time reasons or so, work overnight, and this is when they obviously need these things. And at this time, these are the only things you would get down there, because the ramp and stuff I had earlier is now finished and closed off. You know, the whole kind of foundation is now finished, and this is where they started doing some finishing works around here. And I was working on a little bit of a nice technique I also gave you in the overall 3.5 hour tutorial. If you haven't seen this tutorial, a very high recommendation from my side over here. I put the link to the top right now. It's, well, if you have too much time at hand at the weekend, you could potentially watch this. I have a lot of tricks and tips in there, and there's one tip how you can do, without even using free build, there's a very cool way of how to do actual pretty nice ramps with the leveling option, or the tunnel, the flatten to terrain option. I was struggling a little bit with it, because if you have free build enabled, it's a little bit more tricky, because obviously free build allows you to connect 2 pieces anyways, but that shouldn't bother you too much. If you watch my tutorial and check out the pathing part, you will learn about this rather new trick, and I've not really seen many people using this trick, and I've also seen a lot of comments that you guys said not really many people knew about this, so that's pretty cool that we finally found out something new. But yeah, you can see step number 2, after all the ground foundation and the main planning has been done, step number 2 and phase number 2 is really getting everything in place for the major deliveries, where like the next part is where actually some styling, theming and stuff like that is delivered. Before, in the last part, we are going to have like a detailing work with plants and stuff. But there are already some things in place, you know. Works are not always going simultaneous, in the right order. Some things happen simultaneously. This is something I wanted to also pay tribute to. I mean, I've been doing 2 houses by now, and I know exactly what I'm speaking about. Even though I haven't done a full, like, worth of millions habitat, but I assume in every building project there is that rule that not everything can work exactly as planned. And I even wanted to bring this in. So certain steps in here that usually would have taken place later have been done earlier, and then certain things that would have been done earlier would have been are done later. This is also done in this project. So just to get this tiny bit of realism in, and you can also comment down below your experience with building projects, whether it's been your own ones or with your family or with your parents' ones or whatever. I'm always open for the funniest stories, and I may very well share one of mine now. That's one of the most hilarious ones, by the way, while we see putting some fence pieces and stuff in place. And this story is about where to put the electricity outlets. It's just, I still cannot believe that I have to tell this story. So obviously, we've been working with professionals. I have not done anything of that myself, because I'm actually not really good at that. I'm good at digital work, but not at actual work. So we had an official electrician hired to do our, well, electricity stuff, power lines, cables, blah, blah, blah. And one evening I came back from work and I went into the attic. You remember my attic, my beautiful room we have been streaming in for more than 4 years. And I came up the stairs, like I went up the stairs and and he was already gone, and I called him if he can come over to check this together. And so he came over, And then, by the way, he asked me to pay this second time he came over. But I was like, dude, we agreed that you stay there until we check it. And I paid you for all the hours you should be there. So no, because we haven't done the sign off. And he was like, yeah, but it will be all fine. I'm like, yeah, we'll check together. And then we went into the attic, and I was like, okay, first thing I noticed is that we had some like radiators on the ground. Like obviously they have been detached from the walls to make the walls, do all the plaster works and stuff like that. And then we put them on the ground because they also have been painted. And we put them in a slot exactly where they need to go to the wall with some warning signs. Like I even put some tape on the ground to make sure that this is where the radiators go back to the wall. And then I checked, and like the electrician had made the plugs go behind the heating. And I was like, are you even kidding me? Like, heat and electricity is not a good pairing. Besides, I wouldn't even be able to put a normal plug in because obviously the distance between the radiator, or like the heating, and the wall is not even big enough. So, yeah, he was like, yeah, I didn't see that. And I was like, dude, they're literally lying on the ground. He was like, yeah, but I didn't know why they were lying there. And I was like, it is even written down there on the tape. So, but that wasn't even all. When we went back to going downstairs, I was like, okay, and where do I actually turn off the lights? And then he completely forgot the switch. Like, there was no switch in that room. I didn't notice earlier because the other people, like the other guys, were still working in there, like who did the plaster work and stuff. So obviously light was turned on. And then he just completely forgot to install a freaking switch. I went, okay, come on, like this is ridiculous. And I was like, okay, I'm not gonna pay anything today. You come back tomorrow and you're gonna fix all of that. And so yeah, the other workers were like pretty annoyed because they had to do the plaster work again where they put the wrong holes and whatever. Well, let's talk about what we were seeing on screen, because this is a very vital part in this building process. You can see a lot of things are now in place. We've received a lot more deliveries of the rocks and the fiber rocks, like everything like the fake rocks. They are all putting in place and making things look good. But this time around, even one step ahead, or one step more than last time around, we actually used some foundation pieces under the rocks too, so that this is a lot more stable and makes a lot more sense. And I even rearranged them at some point here just to make sure that everything is sitting in place. And the sand around here, you have to imagine that it's not actual sand. This also would be like kind of a plaster work that is painted as if it was sand, and then we only would have sand on the top layer. But that was pretty much impossible to do in the game, simply because of cleaning reasons. You wouldn't have too much sand in there anyways. And yeah, finally installing the pump, because we also need a wonderful pump here to keep the water clean. Realistically, we would also need a heating system, but that is already part of the small clawed otter habitat on the other side, like the opposite side of the build. So yeah, more deliveries coming in to start over with phase number 3 in a second. So as last time around, we are going to have a little flyover of what we've done. So you can see from the pouring of concrete, we managed our way through putting down some more rocks and cleaning off some things, have a bit of a break in winter, installing already a sunshade, and yeah, now we are starting to detail the first things with some rocks and so on. This is now the building detail before we go into some actual foliage and stuff in phase number 4. But this is also a very vital part, because now it is really about putting all these things down. They have to be painted, obviously in this game I'm gonna put all these things already down, but in real life they would come over. Also, by the way, you can see how they have been delivered here on the left hand side by the trucks, but now I'm gonna delete them again. So what you don't see obviously is during the time lapse, I always paused the time lapse and then I went in, and as you can see over here, some parts I just left in for the funsies. I put on all the pieces that would come next, and it is ridiculous because it basically was for the video, for the sole sake of the video, but equally it was a good planning option because I needed to already find the right pieces. If you watch closely, if you go back or wait till the end and have a look at the full time-lapse stop motion, you will be able to see that I have every single piece that I was using later on, or at least 90% of the pieces, have already been somewhere around and delivered, and I just used them. So I needed to think ahead and plan ahead which pieces I want to use later, and they already have been delivered in the meantime. So putting the realism aspect yet another level higher up. If you remember with the sea lion habitat, I just kind of made this as like a yeah, that wasn't really the right pieces. It was just like a little fun addition that I had some 5 rocks or so delivered, but this time around we had all the pieces delivered. I even tried to kind of measure how many rocks and stuff I would need, so it's not always realistic, and specifically the big rocks are way more than have been delivered, but the smaller rocks over here that we used a lot for the walls and the fences and fence foundations and stuff, they're pretty accurately delivered in terms of how many they are. Oh, by the way, fun fact over here, I just realized that I didn't find the door nice enough because it seemed too big for them. But yeah, because of traversable issues, I removed that door later on again, and I have like a ginormous gate that would even be big enough for elephants, but we all know about this. This is like some planet zoo thingies, you know. But yeah, already a couple of things will be placed in, and also I may talk about one thing that I'm a little bit sorry that I didn't do it, but it just caused too much trouble. Realistically, these trees that I'm putting in here are way too big already because they need to grow over time, so they would be delivered mostly as saplings or young trees. There is obviously an option in zoos and everywhere else where you can already get some full-grown trees, and sometimes this even happens. It's not too common that everything is already fully grown, so I kind of mixed a couple of saplings in later on. You'll see that in the real-time part, but not like as much as I've wished to. So I'm a little bit on the split side to if I like it or not, but I could have done more, and I had also like an idea how I could even show you the growing process of trees. Like there's a simple trick of doing that, but I was like, you know, I already put like 50 hours in, and that would have cost me another like 5 to 6 hours of work and preparation, and yeah, so I decided against it. But as you can tell now, this is some fun work over here. We also already have like some cables. By the way, there is like I need to talk about that. I forgot one step in pouring in the water. So we have to imagine that these big kind of pipe works over here, like the big pipes that are being used for pouring the water in later, are actually connected to a water source. I totally forgot that. So we have some water pouring in, but like it's very unknown to where the water is coming from. But hell, you know, things like that sometimes happen. But yeah, also doing some interior work here, some very simple things, you know. These areas wouldn't necessarily have something crazy to look at, you know. It's like, you know, some beddings and making sure you can close this off. That would be like a gate in here, and other than that, it's mostly very much bare bone. And I could have gone super much in detail here too, but it wouldn't really add anything to the video, I figured, and it's already detailed enough to, no matter from which angle you're looking at it, it looks super realistic, and I'm very, very happy with how that all turned out. Putting a couple of these wonderful conservation DLC assets in. By the way, this is, this wasn't planned at all, but I'm just figuring, if you guys don't own the conservation pack, and you like backstage buildings, you must get it. Get to my instant gaming link in the description below. It's way under €5. I think it's €2 something at the moment, or $2 something. So really easy grab. But as you can see over here, I literally have conservation typed in, so you can see all the pieces you've just seen are from that pack. And I think when it comes to backstage and like general working pieces, it is one of the must-have packs. I'm not the biggest fan of the animals in this pack, but that's just my personal preference. You may actually like them a lot more, I don't know. But yeah, also we need to talk about that roof real quick. I talked about this at the beginning, that I was opting for the more Japanese area for the Sea Otter, but I may or may not have changed this for the real-time part. Yeah, as people were figuring out, this might be a bit too confusing. Maybe I do change it, I'm not sure. I quite like the roof as it is, but maybe it doesn't really fit, and I'm gonna go with a more normal slate roof, but just as a little hint over here. As we go into the last phase, and just recapping what we've just done over here, a couple of little changes and water pouring in, and then we are met with putting in some last details, as this little fence over here, as you can see, putting some poles in, making sure that they are nice. And then also I figured I need a connection to the other side of this habitat, which is where the small clawed otter habitat is. So it's not only that I wanted to do the sea otter, it also makes sense in the context of this zoo, which is always, it's becoming more and more of a zoo, to be honest. And it also makes sure in like to be in the context of the Oceania Island, which is on the opposite side of the habitat, which is where the small blue penguin is, and also the kiwi and so on. So it just kind of all makes sense together. And also, by the way, you can see I took out a bit of the water just for the sake of having a bit of a better overview. Then I raised these these little things again for the time lapse. And as I said, you do not see that too much in the time lapse because I did this all on purpose. But yeah, it's been so much fun doing all of this. It has just been ridiculous. Even though it was so much work and caused me to not do any other videos, it just kind of made so much sense. And I promised you to get back to the old Rudy, and I guess here I am. This is definitely some old Rudy stuff, and it is absolutely amazing. I really, really like how this all turned out. It makes me very happy to see how this is all going, and I just in general enjoyed putting these in. And this is my favorite phase of them all, as all the plants and foliage have been delivered. Now finally getting in and making every gardening stuff, removing everything else and making sure to finish the sidelines and stuff. I also imagine, like, if I would build for a zoo, I think gardening would be the thing that I would enjoy the most, even though I'm very much in for architecture too. But the gardening part must be the coolest. I also, like, if I look at real time lapses of like people making gardens and stuff, and yes, this is an obsession. I do watch this, especially if people build some pools. I can literally watch the whole evening, 6, 8, 9, 10 videos of people building pools as time lapses. If I had the money, I would do that too. But I just enjoy that. And it's always the best part is at the end when the plants are coming in. I'm also a big fan of pools that have this natural overflow and have some water plants in to, well, actually be the filtration rather than have an actual filtration. Speaking of which, by the way, this pool also has a filter, like actually two filters. Actually in the water. I'm not sure if it's in the time lapse or if I put it out because it was a bit of a little finicky work, but yeah. So as you can see, again, moving up the effects over here, putting them back in the right position for the eventual flyovers in between. But as I said, you don't really notice that too much. Changing the water a little bit to match with a bit more of the water that these animals would have, and now getting really in with the final acts, putting some final 4 rocks in that would have been delivered a little bit later, some actual scenery pieces that stand out, some actual like small weenies, as Sylph would say, that make the habitat feel finished and really well thought of. And these things could be installed later. So for example, this tunnel where they can swim through and just enjoy a bit of playing. I tested a couple of things with some moss and so on, but it just didn't click. It just didn't look nice. So whatever. I just kept it the way it is. Changed the color slightly, and honestly, it all turned out to be so well looking. And yeah, also use some of the water effects around the rocks. You should do so too, because that always adds a whole level of realism. And then it was finally time to also remove most of the other things at the end. But also I figured, okay, we need to make the backstage over here look a little bit more covered. And so I went with the one thing that every zoo in the world would do, and is slapping in bamboo. This is the easiest way of hiding areas. This stuff grows like crazy and is relatively easy to maintain. So that's the reason why. Putting a couple of rocks in here to make sure they, don't see everything. But as in real zoos, you can get a little glimpse too. But yeah, that's mostly about it. Putting one fake gate in too, as that would also be realistically doable. Not in the game though. But yeah, so this is it, guys. Here you have the final stop motion, and oh boy, am I happy with how that turned out. This is absurdly fun to watch, and I can actually check this out 10 times in a row. I also have a different variant of it with a bit more of a swing to it, but I actually like the straightforward one the most. It was horrible to cut, never mind, but it looks fantastic. And as said, if you want to catch all the little details, you have to, stop the video, go back to the beginning or whatever, make sure that you check exactly out, or slow down the video. You can also do that that on YouTube, just to showcase every single detail I went in with. It's ridiculous. I don't know why I did this. It was terrible fun, and oh god, I would love to do this more in the future, but don't expect me to do this next week again. It is like the time required to do that is ridiculous. Like it would be so much easier if Frontier would allow the redo undo to play while you're having the flyover, because that literally was my biggest issue. If you have the camera movement going, like if you're in the cinematic root editor, you cannot undo, redo anything in the game. And if you could, that would be so much more simple, but you can't. So yeah, this, my friends, over here is the final flyover of the habitat with the otters already in. As you can see, they already have a wonderful time playing in there. And before we go into the real-time part, here is a slow flyover, which gives me the chance to show this entire habitat in full beauty, but also to say thanks for all of you who didn't skip away and who sticked with me. Thank you so much, guys. It's been wonderful doing this for you, and I really hope you appreciate. And if you did, please hit the like button or subscribe if you haven't already, you know, whatever. And also, you can check out the comments. If you have anything to say, please let me know in the comments. I would love to interact with you and reply and whatever, get into a little discussion about this real build. Now, let's move into the real-time part and check this out in-game. Alright, so we're in the real-time part, and we are going to explore this time around from a bit of an unusual angle. So normally I'm always, as you know, straight up starting right in your face with the animals, but this time around I want to meander a little through the little garden, because I didn't really feature that too much in the video, but also I figured that this is worth a little showcase, because you can see I really made sure to pay attention to the sidelines, so you really have to go there, you have to explore that. So there's like a little gazebo where you can sit down and enjoy something, and then from over here you already get a little glimpse of the habitat, but you can't really tell too much, so you really have to keep on going. Oops, there's some backstage stuff still remaining. Never mind. And then over here you already have a very neat glimpse over to the side. You can see the otter. Look at that. They're swimming and diving in front of us. Look at this. So cool. And then you can actually go down this little incline into the underwater viewing. And there's some education obviously for you guys here. And then you can also see the otters, which are pretty big. I didn't know. I thought they were based off of the small clawed otter, but they're not. They're definitely based off of the river otter. And you can see they're wonderfully done. There's like a little kids kind of corner over here where they can sit down, and this is potentially where they love to sit, because, you know, going down here you can really see them. So you can see them dive, see them play. You know, there's one diving. Look at that. Yay! Woo! Oh, that looks so cool. I really love them, and I would love to, you know, maybe have them added actually into the game with some unique animations, because these sea otters have some really unique bathing, kind of swimming on their back animation, and I really would love to get this with the potentially final DLC we are seeing soon. But yeah, look at that. It is so freaking cool, and I really love how that all turned out. That is so cool. Yeah, I really love it. Okay, but now you can actually go up the incline. You can see everything sits in place now. You know exactly what has been done, but everything is covered now. I think this is also so cool that you guys have been here and seeing all of this. Like, you can watch over this island. It gives the whole thing so much more depth. And I just kept the roof, you know, I kept the roof because I thought, you know, it's kind of nice. But if you give me some feedback, we can still like change it later on. But I don't know, I just like it. I think it's not wrong particularly. So why not? And then just have that in here. And we can still argue that this is a bit of the Asian area because of the small clawed otter in the back, which is the Asian small clawed otter. So it's not particularly wrong. So this is where I'm coming from. And then we have all the education boards over here with some cool benches. There's something I borrowed from Lider, who did these wonderful bench designs, and I kind of paired them with some actual benches in the game. And from over here you have another look of them playing in the water. There's also like a mud bath here in the back, but every angle you're looking at is looking super nice and has a very cool, you know, character to it. And it just kind of, I feel like the whole planning was so worth it. I mean, just look at this view. Just look at it. I think it's absolutely beautiful. This view over here is potentially it's my favorite. I don't know. And then also the otters playing around here. It's so cool to see. There's also the filter I was talking about, the little filter connected to the other water thingy over there. And there's another one in the back, which realistically is connected to the other side where the other otter habitat is, so everything also makes sense, you know. And then going around, you even get some more viewing options on this. Oh, are they taking a photo of them? Oh my god, look at that! I've never seen this in game, and now we finally saw that. Oh, they're not even taking group photos, but they're also from mom and little girl. Oh, that is so cool. But I mean, just look at this from over here. Oh my god, what are you doing? Look at this. I mean, this is just so cool, and it looks like really a garden in the back. And oh, look at that! It's doing a little bath there. And then you have got something for the kids over here, you know, to get close to them and just look through the glass. Maybe they have a fun time chilling over here. I don't know, you know, but also gives them like a cool view. It's very open, and you can look all the way here to the back and, you know, explore the habitat. And then once we make our way around here, you can actually see a bit of the backstage. Oh my god, this will kill people. Never mind, I may or may not remove this at some point. And then, as I promised, there's a lot more like hiding stuff. There's a window you can check in, but you shouldn't look too much into it. And then everything is hidden very nicely. You can actually see someone walk in there without actually seeing who that is. So that's pretty cool. And on the left hand side, you move slowly to Oceania, where the little penguins are. Oh, I'm so happy. Okay, let's finally jump into the free look mode. And oh, we are ready. Okay, and have a look from above, so you can see the whole footprint and how it's integrated now into the area. And it just looks like as if it was meant to be here from the beginning. I mean, just look how nicely it just kind of hugs into the area. Everything makes sense. And why I guess actually even go in there. I should definitely put a staff path in there in between. But yeah, so this is the final version of the habitat, and I am absolutely stoked to show this to you, because I think it looks fantastic, and it definitely is one of my bestest I've ever done. So I can very confidently say that. And if it's not really about the habitat itself, it definitely is about the process that is amongst the bestest I ever had. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you guys enjoyed that. And if you did enjoy, as always, I appreciate a like, a sub, whatever. And as always, and if you want to see more, there is a good video for you now on the top right, top left, no matter where YouTube's going to put this. Just click it and have some fun. And I talk to you in the next one. Goodbye, guys.